BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Warning, this podcast contains strong language, so don't tell your parents. Yo, what's going on? Welcome to the Yungblud podcast. Turn up that volume. I've been wanting to do something like this for such a long time. I want to create a space that is going to uplift your voices, uplift your opinions, a space for you to talk about the challenges that we face every day as young people. The mindless dividers. Each episode, I'm going to speak to one of you at home about something that's happening in your life, something that's challenging you, something you're going through. This podcast is a place of no shame, no judgment, throw it out the window, and I'm never, ever, 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 ever going to tell you what to think or do. That is your right and your right alone. It's just going to be me having a chat with one of you at home. Thank you so much to everyone that applied for this. You kind of broke the BBC website. There was thousands and thousands of you, which kind of blew my mind, to be honest. I was like, what? I got a call and it was just like, it's pandemonium! And that's what we wanted, and it made me so happy because I think it shows me how many of us are going through the same things. And it shows us that none of us are alone in the way we think and the way we feel. My guest this week is Ashley. She's 24 from Glasgow. I chatted to Ashley about her sexuality and how it's evolved and still evolving over her life. Ashley was so cool to speak to, a complete activist, totally open, and I think that's so important when it comes to this. We should all feel we can talk about our sexuality openly and with absolute pride. I can't wait for you to hear this conversation. Sit back and turn up that volume. Ash.
Hello.
Yo, how are you? I love your hair.
Thank you. Brushed it this morning.
Oh, good. Scottish, yes.
Good Glaswegian.
My favourite people in the world.
We're all mental.
Innit, man? We're talking about the good old subject of sexuality today.
The joys.
The subject with 10 zillion possibilities.
Yeah.
But that's what we love. When did you realise you were kind of first attracted to girls?
I would say maybe at the age of like 12, 13. So I never knew at that point that I was attracted to girls. I just knew that something wasn't right. So like all my friends were talking about how, oh, they fancied this boy, they liked this boy. And I was just kind of like, I don't have it in me. Like I don't see it. I don't have the attraction there. I'm not interested. But I was like a wee weird kid. So I thought I was maybe just occupied elsewhere. And then when I got to like 14, it started to make sense. I was like, I think I'm attracted to them because I feel the way about girls the way my friends talk about boys.
It's just so interesting, isn't it? Kind of like where I was from, it was such a strange thing to be open about your sexuality. Like I was from Doncaster, and it was so like just not talked about. You know what I mean? Like the person next door would be like, "Oh, did you hear that person's gay?" Next door, it'd be like the talk of the street.
Yeah,
and it's just like so bizarre to me the way that society placed that boundary on everyone's sexuality and how our generation just kind of smashed it to pieces, you know what I mean?
Ripped it apart and
threw it in the bin and then set the bin on fire, and that is kind of so amazing to me. And what was your reaction from your friends and family when you came out? So
I told my mum I was working in a hairdressing salon at 14, and it was actually 10 years today since I came out. So I've seen all over social media people saying like it was National Coming Out Day, just be free to be yourself, express yourself as you want. And I was like, do you know what, I'm sick of hiding it now. So I text my mum and I said, I've got something to tell you. And she was like, right, what is it? I was like, I'll tell you when I finish work. I'm not having this conversation over text. She was like, Ash, if you're pregnant, like you're 14. I was like, no,
Mum.
Nah, no. Complete opposite, definitely not pregnant. And I told her, and she picked me up from work. We spoke about it, and she was literally just like, Ash, don't put yourself in a box. Like, if you're just saying you're gay to try and be different and be cool, then it's not going to work for you. And I was like, definitely not doing it to be cool, like the opposite. But she was really chill about it, and she was just like, don't put yourself in this box, like just wait and see what happens when you're older, see how you feel. And at that age I was like, nope, this is a box, I'm in it, this is my label, and I'm wearing it with pride. And then now as like I'm older, I'm like out that box, completely ripping labels apart.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because what was so amazing to me is you openly were like, my sexuality has changed and shifted. And it's so funny, isn't it, that kind of now there's so much pressure on what are you? What are you? What are you? Tell me what you are. And the idea that I think is important to amplify, that if you change and your sexuality changes, that does not invalidate your decision to have previously come out as gay or lesbian or bisexual, and then change and become polyamorous, or whatever you identify as is what you are. You know what I mean? I think it's important for people to kind of know that you can change your sexuality. It is okay to explore. You know what I mean? If you're gay, be proud of being gay. If you're straight, be proud of being straight. If you just don't know, be proud of that too.
Yeah, for sure. The way society is now, like, everyone, as you said, put themselves, like, society tells us we need to put ourselves in a box. We need to identify as male or female when there's a million other things in between. You need to identify as gay, lesbian, bisexual. Like, there's a million other things. So all for me, it's the person, for sure. It's took me a while to realise that, but now, as I say that I'm getting older, like, I don't look at the person and think it's what's between your legs is what makes me attracted to you.
Completely,
it's not.
completely. And I completely understand that, because I think for me it's like, I never knew. You know what I mean? I think I never knew, and everyone was always, especially kind of since I got famous as well, people were just like, what are you? Tell us what you are. Tell us what you are. And I was like, yo, I don't know, because I would meet boys as well and I'd be like, oh my, I want to rip your clothes off and kiss you, but I'd never kind of experienced that or felt like that towards someone else either. And it is just so interesting to me that before our generation kind of took a stand against this, it was so scary to just be what you are and exist in this sense of fluidity and freedom and expression. And it's kind of crazy that it's 2020 and we just kind of got here, you know? And
there's been such a huge difference in the last 10 years. Like, when I was at school and when I essentially came out, I knew one other person out of the whole school or out with school that was identifying anything other than straight. Like, it was just not heard of. Right? Yeah.
Had he not come out yet?
No, he hadn't come out, but it was written out him. It was one of the things that everyone knew, but because it was so hush-hush and nobody was to speak about it, it wasn't a conversation that you could just be like, oh, so that's what you are, that's fine. Did
you think by you coming out that might have maybe gave him a little bit of courage or kind of, oh wow, I'm actually not the only one in this environment?
Yeah, like, we had a conversation not long after it, because when I told my mum, I was like, explained that she was really, really chill about it and she was so supportive. And I says to him, like, I know your mum, she'll be the exact same, like, she doesn't care. And if I'm being 100% honest, she knows. Like, she knows about you. She just doesn't want to tell you. And it was maybe about a year or two after he came out, and he's so proud of himself and his family were so supportive, and it's not as scary as what you think sometimes.
100%, and that's kind of what I always amplify to my fan base and anybody who's listening to this right now. It's like, if you are frightened of kind of coming out and being who you are and saying who you are, or you don't even know who you are but you have an inkling of that, be proud to tell people, be proud to not know, be proud to care, be proud to just be. Someone will support you. If it's not your family, if it's not your friends, you share your story online, someone will be like, I feel exactly the same way. I feel exactly like you and I'm struggling as well. And you'll kind of meet a friend, or you might even meet the person you spend the rest of your life with, you know what I mean, like that. And I think it's just so important to kind of amplify that freedom and not be afraid to shout about it.
Be yourself.
When did you realise, like, okay, I've come out as gay, but I'm attracted to this guy, and now I am absolutely questioning my homosexuality? And it's so funny when you say that question. It's like, I'm questioning my homosexuality.
I've done back to front to everyone else.
Do you know what I mean? And that's sick, but what was it like?
It was one of the things that, like, I've always been able to look at a guy and think, do you know what, he's attractive. But it's the same as anybody that's essentially straight. Another girl can look at another girl and think she's pretty. But for me, I knew it was different, and I just knew that it was something that I hadn't crossed before. And after it, I was like, do you know what? I don't feel any better for doing it, but also I've explored that side of things, and I know that I've overstepped that line, and it's a possibility. So I wouldn't say after getting my first guy that I knew 100% I wasn't gay, because I think the whole thing was, it was somebody I knew and it was an uncomfortable situation in the sense of he was a friend and we shouldn't have done it in the first place. But then maybe after I had been with him, it was like another year later before I got with another guy, and I was seeing him for quite a while, and then that's when I started to question it, because I was like, is this right? This doesn't feel right. But I think it's because I've told myself I'm in this box, I'm gay, and I've been gay for 8 years. Like, it was so uncomfortable to tell him, because he would, obviously when you get with somebody, you speak about your previous relationships, you speak about your past sex life. Like, it's just a conversation that is had when I'm an open person. Like, I tell everyone everything.
I mean, so am I. That's legitimately it. And I think kind of to really understand yourself, you have to kind of lose yourself in people from different sexualities and not be afraid, be afraid to, because you learn things. Like I was talking to a young trans girl the other week, and I learned so much about what the trans community, how they want to be spoken about, and how they what you need to say and not to say to make me feel valid and real, because I am valid and I am real. And I think you learn so much about sex and sexuality by exploring those ideas. That's not me saying go have sex with other people. That's talk about it, learn, experience, just be open to it and hearing it instead of being closed-minded. Do you know what I mean? What was it like kind of speaking to boys about kind of your past? Because I know, like, you know what I mean, it's so funny, like, masculinity. Was there any like stigma, like, oh whoa, she used to be a lesbian? That's crazy.
All the time.
Yeah,
like even now. So like the way I see it, it goes one or two ways. So they're either complete like sleazies and they'll be like, threesome, that's the first thing, like, let's have sex with another girl. And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. Or it's a complete, not opposite, but I feel like some guys are kind of intimidated by me because I'm out there with the way I look. Like, I'm covered head to toe in piercings, tattoos, like I've got colourful hair, like I've got a mullet. Like, people look at me and they just assume things and they just judge me based on the way I look. So I feel like guys are really intimidated. I would never be with a pretty boy. Like, a boy in Glasgow with the tightest skinny jeans on, a pair of like Chelsea boots and a big duffer jacket. Like, it just wouldn't work. Like, they wouldn't give me a second look. And that's what I struggle with, because I feel like it's just the whole stigma of the way I dress, the way I act, how outspoken I am, that they look at me and think, nah, you're just a wee lesbian girl. And I'm like, no.
Isn't that so interesting that kind of like it's a two-way street? It's like you over-sexualise it, or you kind of have your masculinity intimidated by it.
There's no in between.
I have a lot of gay fans, and I speak to them about that and kind of speak to them about that issue. And it's like the way they feel when they are in a gay relationship, a lesbian relationship. It's like, women understand me sexually so much more than a man does. So I get the stigma from a male perspective that, oh, is she going to be, she's been with girls who are going to be so much better in bed with me. But as I say, if you are out there and you are a male that is dating a bisexual or a lesbian girl, or you are in that position, it's not about who's going to be better in bed.
Yeah, it's not competition.
It's not that simple. It's about
scores out of 10.
Completely. It's not about scores out of 10. It's about falling in love and having a connection with someone and completely shattering the boxes and shattering the rules, and the willingness to understand, I think, is the biggest thing. And going back to the point of sexuality changing, it is so simple and there's no pressure. It's like you are who you are, and if one day you could literally meet someone and they could change your whole world. Like, when we talk about it, like, it's all glamorized in a rom-com, this heterosexual thing of
here we are,
boy, girl, whatever. Bollocks to that. That doesn't mean anything. At the end of the day, you could be happily married for 5 years and then to a woman or a man or whatever, and then you walk up and it just, everything changes.
Yep.
And that is absolutely possible, because I genuinely believe it's the same as you. It's not what you got in between your legs, it's the person.
Yeah, I feel the thing with this generation as well is we've got so much access to information that previous generations didn't have. We are such an open generation where we're not scared to say what we think or say what we feel. Like, we won't let anybody tell us what we think or what we feel anymore. And I feel like we focus so much on pride, on putting a label on ourselves and saying, I am gay, I am straight, I am bisexual, but it's more a case of we need to think, let's not put ourselves in a box. Forget the boxes that we're in. There's no need to be in them.
And I think that's the thing. And I think it's like, be proud of who you are and be open to discuss and be open to be wrong. Because I sometimes, like, I'm wrong sometimes. It's like I say things that are slightly backwards. But if you are open to going, okay, I shouldn't have said that. Can you please inform me on what is the right way to talk about this?
Yeah.
That is what is going to make everything so much easier to understand and completely make things better.
Yeah,
you know?
I think that's a good thing about like doing this podcast and things. Like, it gives people a platform. Like, you've made a platform for the community that we're all in for this generation, and that's the thing. Like, so many more people are comfortable with being open and asking questions. Like, I'm finding now, like 5 years ago, people wouldn't ask me any questions about my sexuality, wouldn't ask anything about that side of things, but now people aren't scared to ask questions. Like, my mum openly asks questions. My nan and papa, who are from a generation that it was never heard of, never spoke about, are like so calm and they're so open about it, and they just want to know. It's all about knowledge and just asking questions and finding out things that you don't understand.
Dude, you're so interesting. It's so sick to kind of talk to you about this. Like, thank you so much for coming on, and I hope anybody out there like has heard Ash's story, and if you're feeling like that, you feel kind of it's brought some light on a situation, and it is okay to be what you are.
Just be you.
Rockstar. Ash, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
I love your hair. As I say, I'm going to make sure we kind of keep everyone's contact details, so next time I'm in Glasgow, we got to go for a pint, come to the show backstage.
Sure. Drink under the table.
Yeah, whatever. That's what I'm saying. They all think
little Doncaster boy thinks he's a hard man.
All my boys from Glasgow, so don't worry yourselves. All right, I'll catch you later.
For sure, it's been great.
Sick puppies. I'll see you soon.
See you later. Bye.
Rockstar. I absolutely love that. Ashley is a complete rock star. You should always feel free to explore your sexuality, no matter what it is, and if it changes over time. There are no rules ever. Let us be the ones to destroy all the boxes and to just be who we are with absolute pride and absolute passion. Subscribe to the podcast on BBC Sounds to hear new episodes. I'll see you next week. I love you. Look after yourself. Be loud, be proud, and turn the volume down now. That rhymes.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Warning, this podcast contains strong language and adult content. Happy! Yo, this is the Yungblud podcast, so turn up the volume. This is my podcast where I talk to one of you at home every week about something personal, something important in your life. This is no shame, no judgment zone. Throw all that shame and judgment in the bin. I'm just here having a chat and connecting with you. The mindless dividers. My guest this week is Ben. He's 27 from Bath. We talked about his struggles with depression, anxiety, and the way he started his own mental health campaign. Ben is such an amazing dude, and he speaks so openly, so passionately, and so honestly about mental health. I can't wait to hear this conversation, so sit back and turn up that volume. Yo, Ben, what's up?
Oh my god. Hey man.
How are you, man? All right?
Yeah, I'm really good, bud. How are you?
Oh, dude, I'm so happy to speak to you, man. Soon as I heard your story and soon as I heard what you sent in, I literally had to speak to you. Like, that good old battle we all face every day against anxiety and depression that I kind of know firsthand. And I couldn't wait to kind of speak as like two males kind of on this subject, because it's a subject that a lot of boys bottle up and do not talk about and are afraid to talk about in relation to them feeling less masculine or whatever that toxic ideology we've been taught is.
Toxic masculinity and everything else, yeah.
What age did you start feeling depressed?
So it was something I never really realised. It's something looking back, I think about 12 or 13 years old. I definitely remember having my first suicidal thought at that age, which looking back seems crazy. How did I never register that was not normal?
Dude, I mean,
in hindsight's a glorious thing, but
it's so similar, because I was exactly the same age as you. Legitimately, I was exactly the same, 12 or 13. Like, I felt this knot in my stomach that I didn't know why it was there. Like, I'd wake up in the morning, I was like,
Yeah.
I feel so sad right now, yet no one's tried to hurt me, no one's shouting at me, no one's attacking me, but I just feel like it's that feeling of missing a step. Do you know when you miss a step, when you walk up the stairs and you miss a step and you're in that 2 seconds, 3 seconds of kind of vertigo all the time?
Yeah, that's a really good way of describing it. Like, for me, it was also a big feeling of like loneliness. I think that really integrated into kind of everything else. I felt alone, even though I always had loads of people around me and I always had loads of friends and I was always in really close-knit groups. That feeling of you can be in a massive group with people always around you and be close and be in that environment, but you can still feel like you have no one. And I think that's just such a scary thought. I just don't think anyone ever talks about it.
Dude, 100%. That is kind of the weirdest thing ever. That is like, you're in a room full of people, yet it's almost like they are transparent and you can put your hands through them. It's like the kind of a figment of your imagination, and it's so bizarre, like, that no one kind of does address that. And I think there is no answer for why you are feeling that way. And when people go like, why are you sad? Why are you upset? And you're just like, I don't.
And you can't give them a single reason. Yeah.
And you say, I don't know.
There's nothing obvious in your life. There's no clear reason. You've got lots of friends. Your family's good. Like, no one's dying. It's just a feeling which you can't describe. And that's, for me, always been the worst thing, of not being able to describe that feeling to a person, and people just don't understand.
And that makes you be frightened to talk about it. And I think,
massively.
I think that is the biggest barrier to get over. So when you were kind of growing up with that feeling, did you find it hard to talk to your family, to talk to your friends, like, about it?
Yeah, I've always probably described myself as like quite a closed person. I don't really share lots of personal details with a lot of people. I have a very close circle. I don't know, again, it's so hard to describe.
Of course.
There's just like something there that just doesn't want to, I don't know, maybe be vulnerable. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe being a man and seeming that you have these feelings and you cry, and I think that pressure from society almost has that kind of impact.
Completely.
You can't be that way. You can't cry. You can't get upset. You can't show your feelings. When actually, yeah, you can. Why can't you cry? Why can't you do whatever you want? Like, it's so stupid.
100%.
That you can't be like that.
And that's it. I think that's what our kind of generation is fundamentally changing. You know what I mean? It's like, it is okay not to be all right. It is okay to cry. It is okay to not understand. You know what I mean? It's okay to be vulnerable. You know what I mean? To be vulnerable and to show your vulnerability is not a weakness. It's a strength to me. That's the one thing that really helped me when I learned that. And isn't it so interesting when you find out that you are not the only one going through this?
It's the biggest almost shock that actually there are so many people that feel exactly the same. And like, talking to you now, we've been talking for like hardly any time, and you've already said, I felt exactly the same, been through it from the same age. And when you're at that age and you feel like that, you just feel like you're alone. You feel like there is no one else. And it's just not true. There are so many people, especially now where everything is so much more open and things are so much more accessible. It is okay to not be okay.
Yeah,
and that's normal to feel alone.
And that's it. And this is why I was so excited to talk to you, because I was like, I want people who are listening to this, and if you are out there and you are feeling strange and you are kind of confused about telling your parents about it or telling your friends about it or telling anybody about it, say something to somebody. Because I know that at first it feels like you've got to climb a 9-foot wall, but once you climb that wall and you shout, I am not all right, I am anxious, I am depressed, that breath of air, it feels like you've been underwater for 10 years of your life, and then you go, what? I got that off my chest.
So I recorded a video yesterday where I spoke about like self-realization. And I think once you have that self-awareness, that's when your life changes. The moment you can start being aware of those feelings and start coming to terms with things, that's when your life turns around.
Dude, you are so right. Like, even for me, if it's like, if I have an anxiety attack or a panic attack, I'm like, if you just shut your eyes and go, okay, this is happening to me. I'm having an anxiety attack. I'm having a panic attack. It's not going to hurt me. This is normal in my life. I suffer with this. Write it out, breathe, put some music on. That helps me so much. I think if you are out there and that you're experiencing that, just learn and kind of breathe through it and just realize this is what's happening. I will get through it because I've got through it for 23 years of my life, and I'm you know what I mean, I'm still here. And I think it's just kind of important to realize that. You're so right. You literally just blew my mind there. You know what I mean? Like, you taught me something about myself there when I'm like, okay, like, if this is happening to me, I can get through it. What was it like telling your parents for the first time?
So I told my parents in a big breakdown in a pub on my mum's birthday.
Naturally.
Very
English.
It was nearly 2 years ago. So my mum's birthday's next month. So it's nearly coming up to what I like to call 2 years of being aware. And when I told my mum just asked me, like, in a pub, are you okay? Or she just knew something wasn't right. Yeah, as parents do, they can sense things. Yeah, and I just started crying just in the middle of the pub. I was just like, no, like I've not. I'd only just started to realize that I wasn't okay and that I needed help. And my mum literally just said, right, you're moving back in with us like next week. They just gave me so much support. And again, it all feels so stupid looking back, that if I'd had that realization earlier, maybe I could have had that help from a younger age, and maybe I wouldn't have been as fucked up as I am for so long.
But it's so funny, but that kind of got you to this place, and that realization, that's amazing. And as I say, like, I can never, ever stress enough, like, every song of mine, every single time, I always say, just open up about it. Even if it's not to your family, if you have problems with your parents, if you have problems with your thing, just tell your friends. If you've got no friends, speak to someone, write it down in a poem. Like, I have really bad insomnia, right? My anxiety usually kicks in. My anxiety usually kicks in around like midnight. To the point where when I'm on tour, I get afraid to go to bed. Like, it's literally kind of like, which led to me kind of drinking a lot and stuff like that to kind of sleep. But if I write it down...
I'm exactly the same.
Yeah, if I write it down in my notes, I'm like, okay, what am I anxious about? Even if it's literally just like, I am anxious to go to sleep, I am anxious, and I write it 10 times, it just kind of comes out of me. I write that down. I'm anxious about tomorrow. I'm anxious that I'm going to go and do live lounge and my voice is going to crack live on the radio. Yeah. I'm anxious that, I don't know, crazy things like 3 a.m. thoughts, like my mum is going to get hit by a car tomorrow and I didn't tell her I loved her enough, or something crazy like that. Just stupid things
ridiculous
that your body just gets triggered over. And I think it's just important to get it out. You started a vlog called Stubble Talk. Incredible name. I love that.
Thank you.
Tell me something about that. That's awesome.
During lockdown, went through a bit of a dark phase. You know, lockdown was hard for obviously a lot of people. I was living by myself for 7-8 weeks of lockdown. Completely by myself. Didn't see anyone at all. Apart from, when you go to the shop to buy your bread and milk and things like that. And I was really struggling. Luckily, I had a really good support system. Like, my two best friends literally called me all day, every single day, because they knew that I would probably be vulnerable and I was probably struggling. And they were a massive support system. And then I moved into a shared house. Things got better. And I was like, cool, everything's kind of great and dandy and life's fantastic. And then I just had a really, really down day, felt really, really low. And I just had that kind of eureka moment of, there's no one for me to kind of look towards and to who's a voice out there going, hey, you as a man, it's okay to feel like this. And I thought, well, why don't I do it? Why don't I go out and try to be the voice of the voiceless, I suppose? My whole aim is, if one person watches one of my videos and goes, that's actually how I feel. Oh, maybe I'm not okay. Maybe I need to talk to someone, or maybe I need to do this. That's my only aim, is just to hopefully make people have a bit of self-realization and just to help them through a really tough moment in their lives.
Dude, yeah, I hear you on that. We share that ideology very much mutually. And I remember someone really close to me told me a quote once. It's like, to save one life is to save them all. And I think that's such a powerful thing. Like, I really love what you're doing, and I had to speak to you about it. It's so funny, like you said, that you were kind of alone in lockdown and going to the shop. I was exactly the same. I was like, do you know when you get like one of those cute old men who's like lost their wife a year ago and they're kind of like in a coffee shop speaking for like 3 hours about everything? That was me at like my local supermarket. I'm like, so when did you get the carrots from Worcestershire? And it's like, do you know what I mean? I'm just talking for like 4 hours to get some kind of human connection and
human interaction.
It's just magic. Just keep talking. Keep addressing it. Keep feeling, really. I think when you shut off your feelings, that's when they amplify and kind of manipulate themselves into turning against you and hurting you in a big way. And I think such a massive part of my life, kind of in getting through my kind of anxiety, depression, whatever we want to call it, is listening to music. You know what I mean? I think music is the be all and end all of my existence. That's why I got into music, because I was anxious, I was alone, no one understood me, and I wanted to go, is there anybody out there like me? And it turned out, holy shit, there is a lot of people out there like me.
We have a lot of similarities, apparently. Music is exactly the same for me. For me, it's going to sound really weird. I have this one song, November Rain by Guns N' Roses. When I am feeling...
Slash playing in a church. Come on.
It is my song. When I'm feeling super low and I don't want to talk to anyone and I'm just having one of those days, I come in my room, I put my headphones in as loud as I possibly can and just blast out November Rain. It's just... Dude, I don't know why. It is just...
gets you there. And you know what is so interesting to me, and I want to say this because this is kind of a realization I've just had, right? Anybody out there who's listening to this podcast, me and Ben, we have never met. We have never had any interaction before this call. And already we have connected and shared a story about our insecurities in terms of our anxiety and our mental health. And that if you are out there and you are feeling like that, put it out. You might meet someone you have never met, would never dare to meet, you would never think about crossing paths with, and you will find a connection with them, and they will probably make it a lot better. Because I've had two realizations in this conversation that we've had in 20 minutes, and we've never met or had any kind of interaction together, and that is sick.
Yeah, massively. Like the amount of people that have come to me since I've been putting my videos up going, I feel the same. I didn't realize I felt like this. It's crazy the amount of people that are exactly the same and going through the exact same thing as you. Do not turn into a statistic. I think if there's one thing I could say to someone, do not turn to a statistic. Do not get yourself into that place where you feel like you want to take your own life. Suicide is the biggest killer of people our age.
Completely.
And that is so scary.
And it is scary. And those parts of yourself, right, the parts that you don't like about yourself, they are part of who you are. So embrace them and love them. And those insecurities, if you turn them into tools of being who you are, then no one can stop you. No one can drag you down.
Nope.
No one can hurt you. So go out there every day. It's so hard. I struggle with it every day. Ben struggles with it every day. But it will get better if you want it to.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to be willing. I think this is a really big thing as well. You have to be willing to put the effort in. You are not going to just feel better tomorrow. And that sucks. Like it really sucks when you hear that. But you have to want to feel better and you have to be willing to get help. It's not just going to change by itself overnight. You have to be willing to go through some tough shit.
Completely.
And make a difference.
And it's the little things for me. It's like, okay, right, everyone right now at home, while you got your headphones on, take a massive deep breath in. How sick does it feel to breathe? Like, Go downstairs, take a drink of water. How sick does it feel to take a drink of water? Go and watch your favourite TV show. How sick does it feel to be able to fall into a little world? It is those little things that you got to start on at first before you think about the bigger picture, because those little things make up the bigger picture. You know what I mean? Legitimately, when I'm having a panic attack or when I feel bad, I literally just close my eyes and I breathe and go, how amazing does it feel to actually take in a breath? You know what I mean? Like, appreciate that things, and then everything's going to get better.
Yeah, massively. Like, and for me, I feel like my mental health will never not be a problem. And I feel like it's something I'm always going to have to manage. But being aware of that and being on top of that is what makes a difference.
Ben,
I think
you're a rock star, man. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I hope this has helped anybody out there. I hope this has helped you a little bit. It certainly helped me. Thank you so much, Ben. You rock star. Sending all my love to you, and I can't wait to check out Stubble Talk. Let's get it.
Dom, thank you so much, man. It's been incredible.
Rock star. See you later, brother.
See you later, dude. Bye.
That was my chat with Ben. If you are struggling with anything out there, like your mental health, and you want more advice, search online for BBC Action Line. Subscribe to the podcast on BBC Sounds. I'll see you next week. Look after yourselves. You can turn the volume down now.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Welcome back to the Yungblud podcast. Turn up that volume. This is my podcast where I talk to you at home about something personal, something important, and things in your life. I am never, ever, ever, ever going to tell you what to think or do. No shame, no judgment. Here, just having a chat and connecting with you. My guest this week is Molly. She's 23 from Manchester, but now lives in Devon. Molly was trained to become a security guard at gigs and festivals when she was diagnosed with a brain tumour. She absolutely loves music and campaigns for better disability access at shows. When I heard her story, I just had to talk to her. Like, she seemed straight off the bat so inspiring to me, and it's kind of the most beautifully random story ever. And she's such a punk, she's such an activist. I can't wait for you to hear this conversation, so sit back and turn up that volume. All right, Molly, how are you?
I'm good, yeah.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. Honestly, as soon as I heard your story, I just had to speak to you.
Oh, thank you.
I just wanted to kind of start out by asking, what was the first gig you ever went to?
S Club 7 at Manchester Arena.
S Club 7 at Manchester Arena. Was it good?
It was good.
I had a pretty similar one. I went to Bryan Adams with my mum and dad at, I think, Manchester Arena too. And I remember just feeling that energy, because I know you want to work in music and you want to work in security. So it was was that something you always wanted to do from going to gigs or being at gigs or?
Not really, no. I knew I always loved gigs. Like, my auntie took me to see S Club 7 because she's always been really into gigs. And she knew that from the second I was born that she wanted to take me to my first gig.
That's so cute.
So, I've growing up, because I grew up probably only about 20 minutes out of Manchester, so it was always so easy to just go to gigs.
That was kind of where I would, find my solidarity and go with my mates and just, I don't know, I just could just leave everything outside it, you know what I mean, for that hour and a half. I think that's why, I wanted to get into music and play my own gigs, because when I would see the Arctic Monkeys or listen to My Chem or something like that, I'd feel like I was a part of something.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It was like me when I was about 7, blasting My Chemical Romance in my bedroom.
Yeah, man, dude, it's so crazy. But all my life, I remember going up to 18 and having my first beer at a gig. I felt it was crazy. And 18 is such a bizarre age. I mean, 18 was probably a crazy year for you because you found out that you had a brain tumour at 18. What was that like to figure out and process, and what did you realise about your life when you had that?
Well, it was really difficult because I feel like I had it at such an awkward age, because I was just about to leave college and start looking for full-time work. I was just about to become an adult, basically. I was diagnosed at the start of July, and it was my 19th birthday at the end of July, because my first brain surgery was scheduled for my 19th birthday, and then it got cancelled on my birthday.
Oh, no.
So whenever anybody ever says, oh, that was a terrible birthday, I'm like this year when people have complained about their birthdays, I've just been weren't as bad as my 19th.
I mean, legitimately. And you found out that you had a brain tumour on a ride at Thorpe Park, right?
Well, yeah, because I went to Thorpe Park for my friend's 18th birthday, and I was completely fine up until I went to Thorpe Park, and then after I went to Thorpe Park, I started to get ill. Like, I just kept being sick, and I was really tired. Like, I'd come home from college or from work, and I'd just sleep through till the next morning. And then I kept going to the doctors, and they kept saying, there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with you. And then finally, changed doctor's surgery. The doctor within 5 minutes referred me to the hospital for an MRI scan the next day. And the next day I found out I had a brain tumour, so...
What was it like? What did your family say? What did your friends say? Like, was everyone supportive, or were you kind of facing a lot of things alone?
Yeah. I mean, my mum came with me to the hospital because she'd come with me to the doctor's appointment because the doctors just weren't taking me seriously because I was a young person going to the doctors and they thought there was just nothing wrong with me. So my mum was like, right, I'm going to come with you, so they have to take you seriously. So she was with me at the hospital when when I was diagnosed. And afterwards, I was like, right, I'm going to go ring my friends. But I said to her, like, can you ring the family? Because I can't ring my dad and tell him I've got a brain tumour. So she rang all my family. But I do remember calling one friend, and we used to meet up after college to, like, go to KFC together. I remember ringing her up and she didn't answer the phone, and she sent me a text saying I can't go to KFC. And I was like, no, ring me, it's important. So she rang me and I was like, I've got a brain tumour. She was like, oh, I thought you wanted to go to KFC.
I mean, wow. I think that's such an interesting thing, isn't it? The doctors, you go to a doctor's appointment just because you're a young person, they might not take you seriously. They might think you kind of been dramatic or over the top, when I think that is such a big lesson about our generation. You know what I mean? We're very kind of articulate about the way we feel now. And I think it's important, anybody out there, if a young person does come up to you and say, I am not feeling right in terms of anything, in terms of my head, in terms of my mental health, in terms of my sexuality, in terms of anything, like, please take it seriously. You know what I mean? It's so important to that because, as I say, if your mum didn't go with you, you might not be here right now. And that is just an absolutely crazy thing to kind of...
Exactly, yeah. I think if I hadn't have been diagnosed, I would have died 3 years ago. My surgeon said when my surgeon got my case, because when they did my scan, they sent my scan over to the nearest hospital that can do neurosurgery. And none of the surgeons wanted to take it on because it was such a risky operation because my tumour was right in the middle of my brain. So none of the surgeons wanted to take it on. But my brain surgeon just looked at them all and he said, if nobody helps that girl, she'll be dead next summer and she's only 18.
Do you find people kind of treat you differently or kind of tiptoe around a subject or treat you strangely?
Definitely, yeah.
Do you have anything to like say to anyone out there who's going to meet someone who's potentially had like a brain operation or got a disability or has had anything like that happen to them?
I would say just treat them like they're a normal person because at the end of the day that is all we are. We're just normal people. And when I was first diagnosed, I noticed I lost a lot of friends because they just didn't know what to say to me.
It's so interesting, isn't it? It's like that is one of the most common things I am told about when I speak to you lot in my fan base. It's like, just because I dress differently or I appear different doesn't mean I am. I'm completely the same as you. And say it, as long as you say it with love and you put your foot in it, I'm just going to laugh at you. You know what I mean? As I say, I'm not going to resent you for it. It's so interesting, isn't it, that as people, we push people away if we step into the unknown.
Yeah, because it's like, I think it's funny when people make jokes about it. Like, when me and my friend Emily went to a gig last year, and I was there like, oh my God, look how beautiful he looks. And she's like, Molly, you're blind, you can't see him. I was like, I'm only half blind, Emily, I can definitely still see him.
But that's it, man. It's just like, it's so weird. I find it crazy when people just act differently. I think it's just like their own insecurity being amplified on top of everything. And I think if anybody is out there and has gone through something similar to Molly or to anything like that, and people are treating you differently, that is not your fault. That is their own insecurity, and that is them kind of not knowing how to handle you. What is insane to me is that you trained to be a security guard at gigs.
I was training to be a security guard. Like, I was doing security at college when I got ill.
That's so punk. I love it.
It was just because I wanted to. I'd done 2 courses at college that I thought, like, I hated both of them. And I thought, like, what can I do now with my life? I need to look to get a job. And I was like, I want to be in the music industry, but I have no musical talent. So I was like, what do I do?
But you can rock a choker. You can rock a choker, everybody. She's wearing a sick choker, everybody.
But yeah, I was just like, what can I do in music? And then I was like, I can get paid to go to gigs and festivals by working as security.
Yeah, that is a sick thing. Like, a lot of my mates like are obsessed with like working the bars at venues and working the bars at festivals. 'Cause it's just like, I got to see Radiohead last night for free because I was like working the bar all day. Obviously, because I know you love going to gigs. What is going to gigs like now? Like post like having the operation and having the tumour and stuff.
See, that is a huge issue for me now, because I used to go to gigs all the time and never think about how would somebody with a disability go to gigs. But because of my brain tumour, I'm visually impaired. I'm half blind in both eyes. And also, when I had my second brain surgery, I woke up paralysed on the whole left side of my body, so I had to learn to walk again.
Oh my God.
So now when I go to gigs, obviously, I have to be aware of those things. So when I want to buy my tickets for gigs, it's like I have to buy my ticket direct from the venue, because I need to get a carer's ticket to go with, so somebody can come with me for my safety.
Yeah.
And so many venues are just not like geared up for it. Like, for example, this morning I called up to try and get tickets for a gig next year at a local venue to go see Bowling for Soup. And they're not offering carers tickets, and they don't have any disabled areas, so I can't go.
Yeah, it's so hard. I think, especially with my team as well, like because of kind of the community that the BHC is a part of, I always am on top of it, no matter kind of how big the venue is or how small it is, or if we're playing a charity gig or if we're playing an arena or whatever. With my team, that always has to be a big priority. I just think it just kind of makes me confused to kind of why that isn't a priority.
Exactly, because two of the best gigs I went to last year were your shows in Bristol and in London.
Oh, really?
They were the best ones for it, like disabled entry, because they gave disabled early entry so that I could go in, I could buy merch before, and I could like get a drink at the bar and then find a place to stand before there was like a mad crush of people.
100%, because it's like such an excitement and kind of a rush that people run in, and as I say, kind of all sense of your surroundings goes out of the window when you're at a gig, because you're just so full of adrenaline. And I think, as I say, it's important to remember, like, to any like promoters or gig owners, if there are disabled people in there, they should be let in first, because they need to be like safely, and they need to feel just as safe as anybody at the barrier does. You know what I mean? When we're passing out water in the middle of the show, that's just kind of the way it just should be.
Exactly, yeah, because it's like, even though I have all my issues, like I was still
that's what I'm saying. You still want to rock out.
I still went barrier on both your shows.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Dude, I love it. I miss it so much, man. I miss playing so much. It's so crazy to me that kind of that magic has been taken out of my life for a year. It's wild.
Exactly. I said this is probably my first year in about 10 years that I've not gone to a gig all year.
Dude, that's so bizarre to me, isn't it?
And my most heartbreaking one is that I've been waiting since I was about like 7 or 8 to see My Chemical Romance.
And then they came back.
Wait till next year.
I just heard you got engaged. You got engaged during lockdown.
I have, yes.
That is so cute. Yay. When did you meet him?
I met him last year. Yesterday was our official year anniversary when we made it official. So many people said to me, they're like, you've only been with him, they're like, we got engaged in the summer. They're like, you've not even been together a year. And I'm like, well, when you nearly die at 18, why would you wait? Like, why would you wait when you know he's the one?
Yeah, that makes me so happy. I love love. And I think that's such an interesting outlook. Do you know what I mean? For anybody who is literally like going through anything, like who doesn't want to see tomorrow. Tomorrow could be the best day of your life. So go there and just give everything you got. And if you know someone's right for you, then just jump in, go for it. You know what I mean?
Exactly, because I think like 4 years ago, I was lying in a hospital bed thinking, I'm never going to walk again. I'll never walk down the aisle. I'll never go to gigs again. I'll never get to walk my dog for the first time. And then now I walk my dog every day. I go off all over the country to gigs, and I'm going to walk down the aisle.
Oh my, oh, that makes me so happy. Listen, thank you so much for coming on. You're so punk rock and you're so inspiring. I'm going to go for a wee now because I've been busting for an hour. But I love you. Give my love to your fiancé and I'll see you at a show. Let's get it.
Let's do it.
Love you. See you later.
Bye.
Bye, you're
love
a rock
you.
star. Bye, this is crazy. That was my chat with Molly. What a rock and roll star. And I think something to take away from that, like, remember that live music can be a part of your life no matter who you are. I can't wait to play shows again and just see you all. Subscribe to the podcast on BBC Sounds. Be first with the new episodes. I will see you next week. You can turn the volume down now. See you later.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Warning, this podcast contains strong language, so don't tell your parents. This is the Yungblud podcast, so turn up the volume. This week we're doing things a little bit differently. I wanted to tell you about the origins of Yungblud and how we got here and how we got to have our own podcast. So I got my best mate, my brother, my guitar player, Mr. Adam Warrington. We're going to talk about how Yungblud became Yungblud and our kind of craziest stories to date. I can't wait for you to hear this. We haven't really told these stories yet, so let's go. Who's this thing? Are you ready to rock and roll?
Yeah.
Cool.
Shallow. You got a bass.
You got a bass. I just wanted to bring Adam on the show because I think kind of a lot of people know, and I kind of hate saying this when you're next to me, how important he is in my life.
Ooh. Hey, where you from?
In my life and kind of in my career and kind of, I just needed to kind of talk about like the early days and kind of how Yungblud kind of came into fruition. It was pretty bizarre, wasn't it? Like,
yes, from Dom Harrison music to Yungblud.
To the transition for Dom Harrison music, and it kind of what did it involve? Like a lot of Joy Division, gin, and
what was the other drink we had? Port.
It
was disgusting,
dude. Weird. Like I remember, I met Adam on Phil Taggart's Slacker Night. Yes. In Old Street in East London. And I was like, I needed a guitar player, and I needed kind of someone who would be the Sid Vicious to my Johnny Rotten or the Carl Barrett to my Pete Doherty or whatever. And I don't know, I remember we were both wearing Harringtons and you came up to me and passed me a beer, and it was like that doppelganger thing. I was like,
yeah,
hello.
Like, we need a drummer. Like, where? What? On the stage?
Yeah, legitimately.
Sir Michael Benny.
Yeah, we met one night and we were all in one room together and we poached the drummer. And then within 2 weeks of meeting each other, we're in a band and living together because I came to his flat. And what was your flat like? Tell everyone what your flat was like.
It was essentially a squat that I found in Gumtree, and it sucked. It was really bad. So then I moved in with you.
Dude, yeah.
After.
I was like, you can't live in here. This is hilarious. I was like,
I got to the winter and there was a phone up the landlord and was like, yeah, just wondering how you get the heating on. He was like, oh yeah, there's no heating. I was like, so what am I supposed to do? He's like, just come buy an electric heater. And that, like, what? So I have to pay more electricity just to warm myself up? Dude,
and yeah, it was crazy. And that was kind of how we became so close, to the point where we're brothers now and we hate the sight of each other.
Yeah, exactly.
We got so many stories that I wanted to tell you today. I mean, most of them we don't remember, but
these are the ones we do.
So, like, which one do you want to start with?
So I've got a wee list here.
Oh, you got a list? You made a list?
Yeah, they've got names. So this one's called... Oh, wait, should we start early on? We should start early on.
Yeah, we'll start early on.
The Fulham flat beer story.
The Fulham flat beer story.
When I came back down... Was it after Christmas? Yeah, it was after Christmas.
It was after Christmas.
I came down after Christmas back to do a gig at the Horn in St Albans. And after that... I went to Sainsbury's and I seen a big crate of beers. There was like 50 of them just sitting in the beer aisle, and it had a sticker on it saying £3.
Dude, I remember.
And it was 2 crates, and I phoned them up and went,
yeah, you ran home.
Your arse down here right
You've never
now.
been so excited about anything in your life. It's like, oh, yo, we did 1 million streams on a song today in 24 hours. So, oh, sick, man. It's like, rings me. There's 50 beers for £3.
But it was 2 crates. I couldn't lift both. So I phoned you. It was like, get your arse down here right now. And we carried 2 crates of 50 beers, 100 beers for £6.
£6. What I remember from that first flat when we moved in together was just staying up till 4 a.m. Adam was at university studying guitar music, being a good boy.
No, I was supposed to be at university.
Yeah, you were supposed to be at university. I don't think you went, did you?
I went sometimes. I got the excuse because I was technically doing actual work, but then I started to abuse that excuse. And like, oh yeah, I've got sessions, I've got stuff on.
No, I'm just getting drunk with Dom tonight.
No, I'm actually just really hungover and I'm not coming in. Sorry about that. and I never got in trouble for it.
Dude.
Yeah, do you know what? I still passed somehow.
Yeah.
Still passed. Well, the first year.
I think
and
it's
then
because you're
dropped out.
quite good at guitar. You know what I mean?
Not very technically. Like I don't know my theory that well, but I somehow scraped by.
Dude, I think that's it, man. Like I remember, like even like musically, when I first heard Adam, he just had this like when he plays on a track, you turn your head. Well, that's a dog. That's our little doggy. When he woof woof. When he plays on a track, you kind of turn your head. He's great at scales, but he's not going to be like, "Hey, yeah, man, B minor diminished, blah." He's like, you know what I mean? Have a couple of beers and play something amazing. After we left that flat, we moved into a 2-bedroom flat between the three of us because things weren't really going well in Camp Yungblud. We'd had meetings with labels, we'd had meetings with press, we'd had meetings with agents, and no one cared. We wish people were saying bad things. I wish people were talking shit on us. I wish
think there must have been, but no one told us from management side. So
no one.
We just assumed that that there were just no one had heard us yet.
Yeah, and no one really cared, and we were playing gigs to 10 people and just kind of in a tiny shoebox between three of us. But do you know what? I actually look at that and kind of like think about like the best time.
It was a good time,
ever.
but I think we're only remembering the good things because we were living on top of each other.
Dude,
and it was awful.
It was freezing. I remember it was freezing. It was damp. It was a mess. Like,
yeah, it was definitely not. It was too little a space.
there were
for people
wires.
to
There was a
live.
hole in the wall.
Yeah, that's my fault, and that's another story.
That's
We can
segue. Look at that.
When you lived in the film flat, we had all the nice paintings and stuff, and like I had vinyl that I wanted to put in the wall.
Yeah.
So we got in, and I just got the hammer and started knocking holes in the wall, just to put like not knocking holes in the wall, putting up.
I mean, you were knocking up. You were basically knocking
Knock
holes
a hole in the wall, yeah. But I was putting nails in the wall to put up the vinyl, and I just happened to put one up right above a light switch. Went right into the cable.
Bang! Lights off.
All the power cut off. And then I turned it back on. Happened again. Then realised there was a nail in the cable.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't die.
Yeah, I mean, I could have.
You could have easily died. And then you were like, I was like, why is there a hole in the wall? And you were like,
No. Then my dad came down and he was like, I'll fix it. Put a hole in the wall. Fixed it. And then left it and was like, oh, you know how to plaster? Because I used to plaster with my dad. And I just couldn't afford to buy the supplies for it. So I left it until the day we moved out and it looked absolutely awful.
Terrible.
Oh, it's so bad.
Guys,
and then,
like, this is what I'm saying to you. Like, if ever anyone says online that we didn't we got it easy, we effectively lived in a room together with live wires in the room.
Danger. High voltage.
High voltage! Another story about this. This was hilarious, man. Like, this is the fly story.
It's called the fly situation.
The flight situation. It's not a story, it's a situation.
It was a situation.
It was a situation. Where'd we come back from?
I think we went to shoot the King Charles video.
In Denmark.
And we flew out to Copenhagen. And I left the window open the entire week. Like, wide open.
Wide open.
Because I like the cold.
The whole week. Adam loves the cold. And I don't. Do you know what I mean? I'm from the north. I love it outside when it's freezing and wind on my face. But when I get inside, I want to get snuggly. Adam is like the ice king.
Yeah, we came back after a long flight. It was very cold. And then we came in, opened the door of the flat, walked through to my bedroom, which was also in the living room, turned the lights on.
Adam's bedroom was the living room.
And I reckon there was 150 flies in the flat,
easy.
all swarmed around the light as I turned it on. And I just freaked out.
Yeah, Adam has quite bad anxiety, and so do I. But like Adam literally went green.
It was my bedroom was 150
So
flies.
I just went, okay, right. Here's 25 quid. Go to Domino's, get 2 pizzas. Me and Mikey are gonna figure it out.
You went to the shop and bought 2 massive cans of
So
box
we
spray.
walked across the thing. We got fly spray. Well, Adam went to Domino's. He's texting me. I'm like, stay there. He's like, but I just got the pizza. I'm like, stay in Domino's where it's warm because there's literally like
because there was a fly genocide going on upstairs.
There's a fly genocide and they're all over your bed. They were everywhere, but we managed to sort it. And I think like
we sat in your room all night and ate pizza.
Yeah, and I think these challenges, ladies and gentlemen, or however you might identify out there, are what make us close and what bring us together. It was just crazy. That time was mad. Still no one in the UK wanted to sign us. No one cared. But I remember the craziest night for me was that first show in Amsterdam. Do you remember when we turned up in Amsterdam? It was sold out like 150.
Yeah, we just had absolutely no idea what was going on.
Dude, and we just kind of like, from being at home in a damp flat, going to kind of Amsterdam and Belgium and France, and people actually turning up and camping out like they would now, was such a mental like turning point for us.
Yeah, it was obviously such a big difference from living in the flat for a year. Me and Mikey both had normal jobs.
Yeah, like literally, like I always like shout out to Adam and Mikey's. They were literally working in a cafe, paying the rent while I was in the studio. And I think it kind of, that was the turning point, wasn't it? It's like, and then we went to America, and we all had no money.
Yeah.
And I was in New York, and you were going to meet me in LA.
Yeah.
And apparently some labels just start sniffing around in America, and we were just like, we'd heard it kind of all before. We were like, this is kind of not going to happen. And we went to America. And somehow I remember, like, we turned up at the show and every major label exec in America was in the crowd to see us. Our manager / publisher told us before we went on stage, oh yeah, by the way, every music exec is in town. This is your shot, don't blow it. I walked in the toilet and threw up. But we didn't blow it, did we? Somehow.
I feel like no one told me, and we just kind of... maybe we did, and I was like, it's just the same old show.
No, I remember you literally coming into the room and being like, it's going to be fine, just play the same show we always play.
And we did, and it was totally fine. Dude, that's what I say about everything. Like, no matter what size of venue, it's just always the same show.
Yeah, dude, play the same show, and I miss touring so much. I miss kind of connecting with him, like...
I do. I miss going through Norway and looking outside and pressing a little button beside my bunk and seeing the snow. In bed, all tucked up. That's comfortable.
Dude, it's so dude, isn't it crazy, like we've travelled the world like 3 times.
And now we're just in London.
Just like,
I don't hate being in one place for a little bit of time though.
No, I didn't, but now I'm bored.
I'm bored now.
Now I'm just like, let's go, and like, just the best thing in the world, and like, we're just so naughty. It's just wild, and we can't wait to get touring, and I can't wait to see you all. Like, if you listen to this, like, we can't wait to see you all. Like, you are so part of that fun more than anything. The best thing in the world is coming on stage to you every night. The best thing in the world is coming and playing to you every night and just feeling that noise back, innit? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely miss it a lot.
Dude, so do I. I miss you getting food poisoning on Vans Warped Tour and going on stage even though you're throwing up in a bucket at the side of the stage.
They had to put me in an IV after one of the shows.
But I remember you were so ill. I think you lost 2 stone in a night.
I lost I think I did.
Dude, you were like looking at me like, I'm going to shit myself on stage.
Definitely some dodgy food vendor in Vans Warped Tour. Not the catering, because the catering was great.
Yeah, dude, I can't believe we did Vans Warped Tour. Like, that feels like a lifetime ago.
It does. It was such a long time ago.
Thank you so much for listening to mine and Adam's story hour. There'll be more coming soon from us. We love you.
We love you.
We do love you, and we can't wait to see you. Have a happy day or night, wherever you are. Love you. I love that chat, man. He's been my best mate for years. Keep your best friends close. Tell the people you love that you love them every day, because you never know where you'll end up without them. Subscribe to the podcast on BBC Sounds to be first to hear new episodes. I will see you next week. I love ya. Bye.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
This is the Yungblud podcast, so turn up that volume. Each week I talk to one of you at home about something that's going on in your life. We've had some pretty big things happening in the world over the last couple of weeks. To everyone listening in America, whatever your beliefs, if you were old enough to vote, thank you so much for participating in democracy. Our generation are going to be the ones to change this world. I feel it in my water, as my mum would say. Never give up hope. We can and have made a difference. My guest this week is Marlowe. He's 26 and British German. He lived all over Northern Europe, but he's currently living in London. Marlowe is a trans man and recently asked his mum to use he/him pronouns for the first time. He's recently started wearing dresses again, something I relate to, and I love talking to him about becoming more comfortable in his gender expression. There was a couple rude words in this episode, so turn it off if you don't like that sort of thing. But if you do like that sort of thing, sit back and turn up the volume. Wow. Yo, Marlowe, what's up? How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, I'm so good. It's so good to meet you. Your story was like a movie to me. It felt like a film, and I couldn't kind of wait to get into the script, if you like. You know what I mean?
That's really funny that you say that. That's basically my dream, is to make movies. So I'll run with that.
How did you meet your girlfriend?
I just want to clarify. I realized I didn't do that previously. Like, I define myself as aromantic.
Oh,
and
okay,
so,
cool.
Like, we call each other partners because we feel like we exist in this weird nebulous... There's a term called queer platonic. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's essentially redefining relationships from outside of, like, the hierarchy of romance and friendship.
I love that. And do you know what? Like, I just learned something then, and this is my favourite thing about this whole process. I will re-amend my question. How did you meet your partner?
Thank you. We met in a queue in London. I was an au pair in Italy because I had no fucking clue what to do with my life. And she was studying film because she had no fucking clue what to do in her life. And we randomly decided to go watch the same play. So I was in Italy, she was in Germany. We both went to London. And we spent like 9-10 hours in a queue waiting for return tickets. I spent half of that time pretending I couldn't speak German. She was talking to like a German friend of hers, and they were saying really nice things about me in German, and I was like, oh, I'm going to tell them I can understand what they're saying. I'm just going to let them talk about me.
Dude, that's so sick. And were you identifying as a man then, or were you...
No, I didn't even know what any of these terms were at the time. I had nothing at the time. I was like, okay, I finished school and I don't know anything. And then we met, and then first I found, God, how was the trajectory of it? Like, I think most people, I found gay first, and then bi, and then I found trans. I was like, okay, I'm bi and I'm trans. And then I found asexual, and I was like, okay, I'm trans and I'm asexual, I've got this. And then I found non-binary, and I was like, okay, I'm non-binary and asexual. And then I started not disliking those terms, because I still use them for myself, but I started being like, they don't really describe an experience. They describe something that's helpful for, like, politics and explaining what we need, like, in terms of rights and medical health and education and all of that.
Completely.
But doesn't describe a story.
Yeah, and it doesn't describe a person. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that's what... It's so interesting that you say that, because I feel exactly the same as you. I think when you learn a new terminology and a new way of thinking, like something you just said to me then, it kind of allows you to redefine what you actually are and gives you more opportunity to push the boundaries of being who you truly are. And I think that's what's so sick about our generation, is these terms are floating around and we're all talking to each other about them, so we can go, okay, that's where I slot in for now, but then another term comes along and we completely change. Mm-hmm. So what are your pronouns? How do you identify? Because I want to know that, so I can make you feel valid, and I can make you feel like real and like happy. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. So I use they, them, or he, him. And who knows, maybe 10 years in the future, I won't give a fuck. But for now, I do. So they, them, or he, him. I'm good with both. Sometimes I feel more masculine, but like, you know that thing where it's like my ideal masculinity is like wearing dresses and wearing makeup. And like my ideal femininity is like butch women. Like,
you are such an interesting person to me, because you think in a similar way to me, that what is to say that femininity is represented by dresses and floral, and what is to say that masculinity is represented by muscles and, do you know what I'm saying, a six-pack and whatever, a beard. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what I was so excited to speak to you, because coming out as trans, how did you discover that? Was that was that the craziest process you'd ever been through, or was it something you kind of knew all your life?
So I think this is really common with a lot of trans and non-binary and genderqueer people. And I use all of those terms, by the way. I really am not that, like, fussy. It depends on who I'm talking to, but I feel like you get these terms, so it's fine. But I think a lot of people do that thing where they're like, okay, I've come out and I feel pretty good about this. And then you think about your life and you're like, wait a second. That's why I did that when I was 6 years old. Oh. I mean, I'm not saying that 6-year-old me had an intrinsic knowledge of transness, because obviously I never heard of the term, but 6-year-old me was uncomfortable about the femininity that was being pushed on me. And I had like a pretty liberal, like my family home life was pretty liberal with that. And I grew up with 3 brothers as well. But it was like, why am I being asked to present this way at all? Why am I not allowed to do really small things that shouldn't matter, like cut my hair, or I don't know, like not wear a shirt when it's hot outside? I'm 6 years old. Why are we doing things like why are we sexualizing that? Why are we gendering that? You're a 6-year-old.
Completely. And that's it. You were just being who you were. Such a big thing to remember. Be who you are. Be dot who dot you dot are dot exclamation mark. When you met your partner, did you transition after you met your partner, and were they supportive of that?
So, yeah, they've been supportive from the start. And, like, the thing is, so I met her entire friend group because they were all hanging around this place, Mainz, and also, like, the surrounding countryside, which is where she grew up. So I met her whole friend group, and they're now also my friends. And since we've met, it's like, you know, she's come out as, like, sort of bi, and like sometimes she's like, maybe I'm a bit aspectrumy. Other people that I know have come out as bi or as trans or as queer, and I'm like, oh, we do flock together, don't we? It was such a weird time where we were all sort of in our early 20s. Like I said, yeah, we were all in our early 20s, and none of us had been presented with these concepts as valid, like, identities or valid forms of expression. Completely. Or valid forms of loving other people. And then suddenly it was like, oh, we can just do that? That's okay? All right, cool. We're gonna do it. And we're gonna do it as much as we possibly can.
And yeah, dude, I love that. And I think that is such a thing that is becoming very apparent and very progressive very quickly. And that's what I love, kind of to keep having conversations about it, because the rules, in inverted commas, whatever that mean, they keep growing and expanding every day, because these terminologies are becoming more valid and, as they should be, normalized in this society, whatever that means as well. Do you know what I mean? And that's just so incredible to me. And you were talking about coming from kind of a pretty liberal home. Was it strange to ask your parents or your mum to change your pronouns, and could your parents do it? Did it frustrate you when they potentially used the wrong ones?
So I say liberal progressive household. My mum's side of the family.
Okay, yeah, first.
Is that
there's always one side, isn't there? There's always
a side. My dad is it's not a defense, but he's quite old. He was born, for context, he was born before the Second World War.
Wow.
So he's like in his 80s. I have not come out to my dad. I don't plan to come out to my dad. We don't have that kind of relationship. But I came out to my mum. I came out to my mum last year. So I think, like, in terms of the whole, like, thing about coming out and stuff, and I'm very much predicting that it's not a finished thing yet, because I also am not all there
still figuring
yet.
It out, yeah, of course, as you should.
But yeah, like, the first couple of years, it was just me and this group of people, and especially me and my partner, who were figuring things out with each other. And then when we came to London, I was like, okay, I'm gonna introduce myself as this. This is how I introduce myself now. And I did that, and it went okay. And so now I started doing that more. So then it wasn't until last year that I felt, okay, I feel confident enough in explaining this experience to other people that I think I can come out to my mum. Because, well, I didn't think that my mum was going to take it badly. There was definitely a feeling of, okay, I have to be ready to defend myself in case she does. And that's, like, a really unfortunate feeling to have.
100%. And, like, that, I completely admire you, like, your courage and your strength within that. Because that must be like having conquer in the back of your throat or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
It was the dumbest coming out too. We were like,
why?
It's so stupid. I was living in England. I was visiting her on this island where she works. She works in this hospital on this island off the coast of Sweden, which is like this great little island. And I was visiting her for a week, and I just couldn't find any time alone with her because there was family everywhere. And
Yeah.
And then on the last day, I was like, oh, we're on a beach. We're alone. The sun is going down. This feels like a weird special episode or a Hallmark movie. I hate this. Why is this not more natural?
I better do it now, yeah.
And so we were walking. I was like, there's something I want to tell you. And then right as I was saying trans, I slipped on a rock. So it came out as like, Mom, I'm trans. And it was it was really, really stupid. But it was fine. Like it kind of
I think
took
that's
away
brilliant.
A lot
I
of
don't think that's stupid at all. I think that's absolutely brilliant, and I think that's so great.
But yeah, so
I think that's all we want, right? We all just want to be accepted for who we are, no matter who we are or what we're gonna be eventually at the end of our journey. If you don't know right now and you're going through it, be proud to not know. You know what I mean?
I love the transition in a way. Like,
did you?
I haven't done any like physical transition yet, and I hate that part because I've been on the waiting list for the waiting list. Like, I'm not even on the actual waiting list. I've been on that waiting list for over a year. So I'm just waiting for them to tell me, like the GIC to be like, you are now on the waiting list. We've like gone over your thing and you seem like a valid person, I guess. But like, that part sucks. But the actual, I don't actually quite know, and this could change in the future. That's great. I love that. I love that we're moving into a place where that not knowing and that feeling of transition is a joy rather than necessarily a struggle. It's the not acceptance. That's the struggle. The internal journey, that should be considered like something beautiful, because that's what we're all doing. Everybody is transitioning in some way or other throughout their lives. You're not just transitioning if you're trans. You could be transitioning to a new job, to a new place, to a new relationship. Like, everything is constantly changing. And I think that being trans should just be another facet of that.
Completely, 100%. And it's like, as I say, a lot of kind of trans people I meet and speak to, because obviously I'm always on my DMs, I'm always like looking forward just to try and like always keep up to date, because it is so important to me, because I have looked at these people's faces when they feel invalidated and they feel not real. And I would just say to anybody out there, if you are trans and if you are kind of transitioning or anything, you are real, you are valid, you are heard, and we are going to work so hard to make sure that every single person feels validated and real. What is so punk rock to me about you is you started wearing dresses again, which is sick.
I did start wearing dresses again.
Dude, that's so sick. And like in the description, it's like you describe yourself as a boy in a dress right now. And I relate to that so heavy. I relate to that so heavy. I should have brought mine. I should have worn mine today.
I didn't wear a dress today, but that's because I've been sitting at home and I had to do work and school today, and I'm just tired now. So I was like, I'm not going to wear a dress today because I feel like a goblin. So I'm going to express a certain goblin self instead. But yeah, I wore a dress for Halloween and it was great.
Don't you just feel so sexy in it? Like as a boy in a dress, that's what I'm like. I feel so sexy in a dress.
Ugh.
I'm just obsessed with it. I don't know why. Everyone's always like, why'd you wear it? I'm like, because I look sexy.
I look great. Fuck you.
I love that. You are a massive Star Trek fan, right?
I'm a massive Star Trek fan.
Bruv, I wish I could relate. I don't relate. I'm sorry. I apologise.
It's okay.
But you met a lot of trans friends on an online Star Trek social club, right?
Yeah. It's so okay, I'm gonna be really, really like brief because I understand that not everybody is a fucking so
calling all Star Trek fans out there.
Calling all Star Trek fans who are also queer and trans, which is most Star Trek fans that I know. So Deep Space Nine, which came out in the 90s, actually right around the time I was born, it had an actor in it called Alexander Siddig, who played one of the main characters. And he now was like, during COVID, he was like, oh, you know what? I want to keep people's spirits up. And, maybe a few people would like to hang out with me and with each other and just talk about their life. It's literally this, what we're doing right now, except with more people in the room. And so he started that up. And then we started up like our various like places to speak to each other. Like, so I now have like, I've got some trans friends from Australia who are like, please come to Australia and we'll put you up on a drag night. And I was like, yes, please, thank you, please take me to Australia so I can do drag in Australia. I've got friends from New Zealand and America and France. It's just really, really, really great. I got paid for this now. Like, being a Star Trek nerd has now paid for me. I published an article on the official Star Trek news site about gender nonconformity in Star Trek. So it's like,
dude,
my
that's
two
so sick.
hyperfixations and just coming together.
That's such a sick thing to kind of understand. And like, again, like to kind of shout to everyone at home. I think that is the incredible thing about online and social media right now. And honestly, I would always encourage people to like, always be 100% yourself, because that's when you'll find people who are 100% right for you. If you're only being 80% yourself and you're hiding a little bit, you're only going to find people who are 80% right for you. You know what I'm saying? So if you go, this is what I am whatever you are, I've got purple hair, I love to dress up as a chicken, I am bisexual, and my name's David, then people will relate to you. No matter what you are, there is going to be someone out there that goes, I feel that way too.
There's definitely somebody who vibes with purple-haired bisexual David in his chicken suit.
I vibe with bisexual David in his chicken suit and his purple hair. I want to do my hair purple because of David.
I think my next color is going to be purple.
Dude, same. I was going to go purple as well.
Oh,
Should we do it together?
Snap.
I love it. Honestly, thank you so much, Marlowe. You've been incredible. Like, I'm so happy to speak to you. Have you got anything you want to say to anyone out there to sign off?
Oh gosh, there is a family for you. Like, trust me on that. There is a family, even if it's not your biological family, but if it is, that's also fucking great. But there is a family out there for you.
As Marlowe said, there is a family out there for everybody. What a cool dude, man. I just love how he's found his community through Star Trek. That's so sick. Like Marlowe, you might find your people in a place you didn't expect, so never, ever, ever, ever stop looking. If you want some information on LGBTQI plus issues, search online for the BBC Action Line. If, like me, you're stuck inside at the moment, listen back to old episodes on BBC Sounds. I'll see you next week. You can turn down the volume now.